state. And then you got the big metal building. Yes, this is, Forest City.
Hey, Miller, he's got
This
you
is
up.
the
He's ready
metal
to go.
building where the state used to be. It's just
All right, let's go ahead and get started, guys.
Where is that from?
I'm going to go ahead and call the July Planning Commission meeting to order. I'd like to thank everybody for being here. We're going to start off with the housekeeping item here of the minutes from the June meeting. I'll entertain a motion. Has everybody had the opportunity to look those over? And do you have any corrections or anything to make to those? What's your pleasure? Anybody want to make a motion to approve the minutes from last month?
I'll make a motion. I
Okay.
wasn't here at that meeting, but I've read them and I'll make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes from June. All those in favor acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. All right, item number 2, request for review and recommendation for approval of an ordinance to modernize the current airport zoning to correlate with the changes of the Russellville Municipal Airport since original airport zoning in 1987, repealing ordinances 1243, 1264, and 1272. Kevin, do you want to elaborate on this?
Yes, sir. So back on July 11th this year, the Technical Review Committee met on this item. If you'll recall, about a month or so ago, we had seen this for the first time. Everybody hear me okay?
Good.
So back on the 11th, the TRC had met, and this was actually a re-review of the original submittal. There were some items in the original submittal that have been added to, and some have been deleted, and you can see that based on the boldface type and the strikeouts in your version. I did draft a report on this that you do not have, but that was simply for my own benefit to be able to reiterate to you some of the findings from the TRC, which basically means, you know, we have a few things in there that I think are good. One of the main ones about removing language about appeals, because at the city level, the city doesn't have jurisdiction to appeal or vary the requirements of the FAA, and the FAA is actually defined in this version of the ordinance. The city of Russellville's municipal airport, that is defined, and that is part of the reason for defining those things, is to make sure that waivers aren't something that the city needs to concern itself with, but that's more for the airport and the FAA to deal with. The draft ordinance also provides for non-conforming uses in 2 scenarios. One, that the regulations are not retroactive. That basically means that there's no need to remove, relocate, or lower in height any non-conforming structures that are there now, and that's a good thing. The other item would be markings and lighting. Landowners are required to permit installation, operation, and maintenance of markings and lighting deemed necessary for the identification of specified objects. To aircraft operators, markings and lightings are still maintained by the airport. And so those are property ownership, maybe concerns that I wanted to highlight for the commission. Aside from that, the recommendation from staff is to approve it. And staff will ensure that all proposed structural improvements are reviewed by the airport authority. Staff will request a digital copy, CAD, GIS files for the approach zones and the other zones that are identified in the ordinance, just so Mr. Holstein and his staff can make sure that they know when to send items on to the airport for their review for the FAA.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Kevin. Trey, you want to add anything to that?
Just briefly, Kevin's covered a few of the things. But when we looked at this, I got with the airport director, Keith Frazier, and we worked on a few things. But as Kevin has said, the appeal process, that needs to go, and it goes to the board adjustment. So those are things that were taken out with this new one. The airport commission has changed, and the old ordinance reflected how they were an autonomous body versus now they're an advisory board, and so that has changed as a result. I think there was a few things we just spotted, Keith did, about the elevations had changed since this was written. So we've corrected that, we've modernized it to meet and add more drawings and tables to go with the ordinance, so it's to up-to-date it for current usage.
All right, thank you. Mr. Frazier, did you want to add anything to that, or did that pretty much cover everything? Okay.
One thing that I failed to mention, there is a segment of land, and you'll see this in the back of your packet that you received with your ordinance. There's an exhibit in there. It's Exhibit A5. It basically shows a generalized existing zoning. And you can see at the end of runway 25, there's this gray shading, and according to their legend, that's heavy industrial. They must have captured our existing zoning information and sort of made the graphic based on that. But it's not heavy industrial. It's actually zoned R2. So there's a portion of R2, light medium density residential zoning at the end of that runway, I believe. I haven't seen it with the overlays, but it might be in the approach zone. Again, having nothing to do with the item of approving an ordinance, I felt like this was a good venue to perhaps recommend a land use and perhaps make a zoning change in the future to M1. I just wanted to cite that because their graphic isn't necessarily accurate relative to the city of Russellville zoning. And that is all.
All right. Okay, does anybody have any questions for Kevin before we move on? All right, thank you, sir. Commissioners, what is your pleasure? Do I hear a motion to approve this, or do you have any questions about it at all?
Motion to approve.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay.
Who was that?
Justin. We have a motion and a second to approve the request for the ordinance changes. All those in favor acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. Okay. Item number 3. Request to close a portion of a 60-foot section of the road running east to west located in Block 11 of part of Block 17 of Mary A. Russell's addition, and also a part of the southwest quarter section. Submitted by Chris Abington and on behalf of James R. Lee. Kevin, you have a staff report on that?
Yes, briefly, as you just indicated, there's roughly a 60-foot wide by approximately 120-foot deep right-of-way. It's an existing right-of-way as an extension of East Street if it were to cross El Paso Avenue. You wouldn't know it's there because right now there's an existing parking lot on the north side of what I believe is the health department. Health department leases that space, but the applicant is representing ATU, and they'd like to go ahead and purchase that. Mr. Abington, Chris Abington, he is the agent for ATU, and they'd like to purchase that property. They're having some office expansions and those sort of uses, so the uses isn't necessarily going to change. But what they'd like to do is formally vacate this right-of-way that's platted. If you'll notice in your report, yes, technically it is in the floodplain. That's a legacy issue. This isn't necessarily a floodplain development matter. However, as cited in your report, the Army Corps of Engineers is working with the city engineer and city public works staff on existing improvements to the stream restoration and stream improvements to improve the flow and hydraulics along Prairie Creek. And so to that end, through the technical review committee, we are recommending that they delineate and save 25 feet from the backside of that inward for maintenance and utility placement and ongoing work. So that can,
Is 25 feet going to be enough, you think? I mean, is that,
according to the city engineer, they feel like that should be enough.
Chris, do you have anything to add? Did he pretty much cover it? Okay. All right.
You don't want us to put a street there? Okay. Got a question.
All right. Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
Proposed top bank, which is further than the existing top bank, and I'll talk to the applicant and the engineer about the location that's represented on the plan.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? This is a public hearing.
All the utilities are okay with this? Is that,
there's gonna be some levels of relocation, but, yes, the utilities will be placed inside this easement.
Okay, and they're all okay? I mean, that's been settled, done?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a structure there now, or is it just a vacant lot?
Well, the parcel does have a structure on it, but the area of the easement, or the area of the right-of-way does not have anything structural on it. It's literally just a parking lot right now.
All right. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion. Approve, as noted here.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Justin. We have a motion and a second to approve this request to close this partial here. All those in favor of this, acknowledge by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carried. Okay. Before we adjourn, I would like to embarrass a young lady that's in our presence tonight. Her name is Sarah John Dahl. She's our new city planner. Sarah, if you would, step up to the microphone and tell us about it.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Sarah John Dahl, and I'm excited to be the new city planner. I have 10 years' experience working in planning and development at the City of Salem, and I look forward to working with each of y'all. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Great.
All right.
There you go.
If there's no other business, we are adjourned. That's good. Good job. Thanks, sir. That's 11 minutes. That's a record. Yeah, it's a record. That's a record. How you doing? Good. Good. Kevin, it's been real, buddy.